Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm Brendan Lee. In this video I want to talk to you and consider with you, why don't people change? This comes off of, I was just coming back from the dojo / meditation hall, coming back to my place here, and I was thinking to myself, and it struck me, I was wondering, why don't people make shifts and change? Now, this happens because one of the reasons I'm working with apprentices here, we have apprentices on site. These are very serious people that are doing tons of work. And I've seen over the years, I've worked with apprentices for many years. I've been an apprentice for many years. I've also worked with apprentices for many years. And in that type of environment, there's a demand to make changes, to make changes about the person. See, like, shift some things around, always in the direction of becoming more free, more powerful, more capable human being. But over the years, again and again and again, I keep seeing I wanted to talk about and consider with you and invite you to consider, not that anybody needs to change. There's definitely, it doesn't matter if you change or not. Ultimately, your life is your own life. Who the fuck cares? But if you come do a program, there are certain demands, about being able to shift things or change things or let go of things that are not empowering for the individual. And more often than not, the truth is, so first off, doesn't matter if you change or not, ultimately. Second thing, if you do change, well, then you're a changed person. It doesn't really mean anything. You can change into a disempowered person who is suffering all the time, relying on excuses, being a victim, or whatever it is. Like, there are disempowering ways to live life, and there are which also means that there are empowering ways to live life, because they are the same thing. You don't have disempowered without empowered. It's like they're together. And so, but then if change is on the menu for you, say you like, oh, I'm into personal growth or transformation. Personal growth is a change, like growth is a change. That's how you know something has grown. It changes from one thing to another, and you say, oh, it's grown. You see, it's changed form. Now, personal growth, what is that? Well, it's like growing as a person, but then you might want to consider, well, what is a person? And that sends us down a different road. Like, what's a person actually made of? But more specifically, what's the deal? Because I see people that come in, they say they want to change. They do a program because they want to shift something. And they get into a serious amount of work, and then sometimes they will be presented with or confronted with certain realities. Like, I might assess their person and be like, well, it looks like this is what you're doing as a person. Can you see how that whole thing that you're up to is disempowering? Now, you're in a program. Now, here's an assignment or something. Here's a challenge for you. Blah, 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 XYZ. Do that. Well, why would I say do that? Well, because I assess that if the person that they are now, in order to do that thing, they will have to show up and become as if a different person to some degree. The thing that I'm inviting them to do will challenge their current mental framework, their current status quo, and push them in a direction if they throw themselves into it. Now, here's the kicker, though. Even though people come in, they say they want to change, say they pay a lot of money to do a program that offers that real possibility, still, they don't do it. So then what's the deal here? First off, well, you might think, you might be thinking, well, yeah, well, if I get them, I'm trying to get somebody to change, and man, they're stupid for not changing. Yes, I understand the stupid part. That's a reaction that I have. I might have a reaction. So, okay, well, that's really useless to this consideration, so I might toss that out. Okay, my reaction aside, what's actually going on with them? They don't do it. I don't like it, okay? But still, they don't do it. Kind of like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Or like Stuart Emery says, or has said, this is a mentor of Peter's actually, plants, they want to grow, they're easy. You water them, they grow. Humans, you water them, they put up an umbrella. And that seems to be true. And in my own case, I've noticed when it comes time to like grow, comes time to like put up or shut up, or I've reached a confrontation, sometimes I run into a resistance to doing that. It feels wrong, or it feels bad, or I think something bad's going to happen, or maybe in extreme cases, I'm afraid I'm going to die. So there's massive amounts of fear. But what's that about, you see? So then I can see that anybody who is considering growth, and then they are confronted with, do this thing, and it might be a simple thing, like talk differently. They still don't do it. I'm not saying I'm free from this as well. So I'm circling around and bringing her questioning to consider what stands in the way. Why doesn't a person just make the shift? What's all the resistance about? You see, there's like, if there's resistance, I'm not claiming that there needs to be a resistance. I've heard stories of people, they make a change, bing, bing, and it's done. You see, so I do not want to promote a cosmology about any sort of length of time and prerequisite it takes to make a change. No, you could change right now. And then back to, I'm still focused on, well, what's this resistance about? Because man, if my job is to help people grow, and they ain't growing, even though I'm trying my hardest and pointing and yelling and screaming and doing this and doing that, and well, inviting this and trying to tease out this, or like talking about this and consider, and still there's this, nope. What is that about? What is that about? Because if somebody really wants to grow and change, it seems useful to toss out any resistance and really go at it. Now, one thing I can notice about the resistance is it doesn't matter how intellectual you are about it. Oh, I can see, like maybe you've read some books, you're into some psychology, you've heard a bunch of spiritual teachers talk about this, that, and the other thing, and you've got it all mapped out in where, though? Your intellect. And you can see how that really doesn't change the resistance, does it? And or, I've seen the intellect like creates an overlay of intellectual, oh, well, I know what's going on, and then it, there's, again, no change there. It's just an intellectual machination overlaying the root problem, like trying to pretend to be somebody else. Not that I've ever done that, you see? Like, oh, if I'm a funny guy, say I'm really driven to get you to like me, and somebody gives me assignment or challenges me, hey, you know that you're really driven to have people like you, and can you see how disempowering that is? I might intellectually go, oh, yeah. And it still doesn't change it. Because the thing that seems like the thing that's running the show is non-intellectual. So then how do you get at that stuff? It seems like we need a different way of proceeding. I'm not saying intellect doesn't help or can't help. It can help clarify things and, apply logic and reasoning to the, well, what is this I'm driven thing here? But I really don't want to give it up. You see, intellectually, of course you want to give up anything that you say is disempowering. Anything that you notice that's disempowering, you will want to give that up already. And that might occur like a thought, and yet still it remains. And so what's this remaining thing? It's like a force. A force of some kind. What's that about? A forceful resistance to change. And you might be thinking along, or you've heard some other stuff, and you're like, oh, well, maybe you're into spirituality, and you're like, oh, I'm into personal transformation, and I've changed completely. I have never seen anybody change completely. Have you? And I mean, like, you don't recognize them as a person anymore, and it's real. It's not like some put on thing. Like, oh, I'm so different, like I see in spiritual communities. It's like all these people pretending at light and love and all this stuff, but when I really look at them, I'm like, no, you're just bullshitting. You're just trying to be light and love because you actually don't feel good inside. Now, but it's a pretense. The beef I have is that it's when it's pretending. It's not real. And I'm not saying it doesn't feel good to do that. All right, and go ahead and do that. That's fine. But if you want to really change, you have to really change. You can't pretend change. And most of what people accept as change is a pretense, as far as I can tell. I've never seen the real deal. Like, I mean on a massive scale. See, people make sometimes small changes here and there. But what they're up to is generally the same, as far as I can tell. And yet, what's the resistance? See, like I've had Peter tell me things, for example, for years and years, and I'm just talking about. So now I'm shifting a little bit towards like learning, but actually grasping something about what I'm up to. Years and years and years and years and years and years and years, and then finally, oh, I get it. I'm like, oh, why didn't you say so? And it's like, well, I've been saying so for like 10 fucking years. Like, where have you been? You see, I'm like, God dang, I'm so slow sometimes. Like, wow. You see, there is that aspect too. It's like sometimes people just don't grasp things. So it seems like the reality of some of this is the person, no matter what, if they're going to change, they have to change or want to change, and they have to make it real. And there's I don't see any paint by the numbers rules about making change real and making it come about. Except that I cannot do it for somebody else. Ultimately, they have to make a decision, and then ultimately they have to find their way either immediately or not to make it a reality, not a pretense, which, again, like I could go into different traps that I've noticed and people getting stuck and not knowing they're stuck and all these other things. Like there's little traps here and there, sometimes big ones. But I still want to know, or I'm considering with you this resistance, like a heroin addict knows that heroin's bad. See, that's intellect. I know this is bad. Yeah, but are you doing heroin? Yeah, well, see, something else is going on. Something else is not resolved. So then it seems like there's a missing link, you see, because say I'm into heroin, and I know it's bad, and then somebody's like, well, stop. I'm like, well, blah, 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 blah. I've always been this way. I've heard that one. I've always been this way. I've always been this way that does heroin. So that means it must continue into the future. Nope, that's a story. That's bullshit. So there's some bullshit. We can rip that off. But I still do the heroin, but I'm resisting changing. Why? Well, I just feel bad all the time. Okay, we're getting closer. Why are you in so much pain? Well, I'm in so much pain because blah, blah, blah. Another story. My dad beat me when I was young. I got attacked by wild animals and it traumatized me. And so now I'm blah, 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 and I have to live this way in the future. No, we can rip that off. That still does not explain the pain. Why? Because the pain is still there. It's still an issue. You see? The story does not change the fact. And also, the story shows up after the fact. So then why is the fact there? Well, it's there because, you see, that's superficial to the matter. Why is it there? What is it? Well, I'm in pain. Well, yep. If you are in pain and you can't just turn it on and off, then that means you're missing something. So then what is the pain relating to? What is it actually relating to in your experience? You see, now I think we're getting closer to isolating the real cause of the resistance. It's the unknown stuff. You know, what Peter calls your unrecognized mind, or mind, that stuff that you have going on that you don't recognize, that's actually impinging on your experience right now, and you are reacting to something, not reacting to a story. The story helps keep it locked in place and excuses you for being that way. But the pain of the arising, say, of the pain itself is based on something else. And if I want to make a change, as I say, I'm a heroin addict, and I'm like, well, I want to change this, but I can't. I have to confront the stuff in my experience that is driving me to do the heroin, say, if I really want to make a change in my person. You see? But then people just don't want to do that. You know how I know they don't want to do that? Because if they actually wanted to change, they would. See, I really want to stop heroin? Good, stop. Oh, something else is driving me then. Well, okay, I actually want to do that. Why? Because I keep doing it, and I'm driven. You see, the drive is about something. See, so I keep circling, kind of meandering around, and I still want to know, or I don't know if there's a way around being a teacher person or trying to facilitate other people and having them get what they need to get to make a change. I can't force it. I can't make people change. I can do a song and dance and get them to consider, so then eventually they realize how to do it. You know, I can draw up analogies and stories and ask questions and get them to ask questions. And then at the end of the day, you know, they have to realize that the change is something they want to do and proceed to do that. You know, like I have had things where, you know, here's another aspect, is I recall working on something and then not being able to see the thing that I'm working on. Like somebody might say, hey, you are, let's just say, you know, you're a nice guy and you're trying to, you're always joking. Oh, well, yeah, I like to joke. I'm a funny guy, you see, but then I don't realize what the funny guy is costing me. This seems to be where I've experienced turning points in my own self and been like, nope, it's time to change that. When I start to realize there's the funny guy, but then attached to the funny guy, and I'm talking my experience, for example, is a drive because I'm afraid of not being liked. And there's pain every time I interact with people, so that I'm scared and I think I need to put on a song and dance so that people like me, so that I feel good, so that I try to resolve this thing that is not resolved. And then I go, oh my God, these are linked, and it becomes, funny guy's got to go. I'm tired of all this pain. So it's a recognition of what's occurring, and a recognition that the thing that's occurring is painful, disempowering, and it's got consequences that are, by and large, negative. Even though on the surface it's acceptable and it looks like a good thing. Now, I'm not saying all these things are about that, but in terms of the stuff that I want to change and getting others to change, if they can realize what it is they're really doing, it's kind of like realizing that I'm sticking my hand in boiling water and going, oh, fucking my God, that boiling water, I think it's so worth it, but this hurts. I'm just done with that. And then I can get about changing my mind. Whereas before that, the awareness of the consequences is not there for me, say, or them. What I mean by that is, you ever been in a room and been looking right at something but not seen it, and then or you're like looking around for something that's right in front of you but you don't see it, that is an example of something not being in your awareness. Well, or it's in your experience but you're not aware of it. You see? It is in your experience but you're not aware of the thing, and then suddenly you become aware, and doesn't that thing pop into existence for you, like pop into your experience? Oh, there's my sunglasses. They were right there. How did I miss them? You see, it was right there. You just missed it, man. You see? That's considering recognizing something that is there. You just don't see it. And then when I do that, then I'm like, oh God, we need to shift some things because wow, the pain can be quite intense or whatever. Or the consequences, like, man, I'm hurting people, or man, I'm separating myself from others. You see, and then back to the consideration we get, well, and then how do you get somebody to recognize that? Well, shit. If there was a pill for that, again, I'd be a billionaire. You know, in the spiritual growth or the personal growth world or whatever. Here, take this pill and you can recognize all the stuff you're doing. Get ready. It's going to be a lot. Right? So, but then what is it that determines what you are aware of from moment to moment? How do you control what you're aware of? That, I wonder. What is it that controls what you're aware of? By what means are you being only aware of some things but not others? And this seems to point us in the direction more of the real truth of the matter. You are aware of certain things but not others from moment to moment, and that is very automatic and powerful. You know, you're aware of things that are useful to you, and you're not aware of things that you don't consider useful. And very busy, like trying to chase things or get things done. But what is it that decides as if how you are aware of what you are aware of, when it can change and it's different for different people? But how does the awareness itself come to be so discerning? Yeah? Don't know. Might be something there. Okay? So now considering your own resistance. So now if you are you want to make a change in your own self, but you aren't being successful, you may want to consider what's really going on with you. Some things that can help with that are I have a video on bottom line contemplation that might be useful. You can also watch a video on contemplation. It's a way of looking into things powerfully. And then you can get to the real heart of the matter and perhaps make a shift of some kind. That'll be after the fact, or like after you discover what it is you're really doing. Then the shift might be easy or the obvious choice. But in terms of getting other people to change, holy smokes, if they don't want to, I can't help you there. Okay? And I guess like Jesus said, I hear tell, remove the log from thine own eye before attempting to remove the sliver from thy brother's eye. Anyway, so that's it for your consideration. A little bit of a contemplative video. Thanks very much for watching. If you want to get serious, check the links in the description. I'm Brendan Lee in Support of Consciousness and Skill Worldwide, which is founded by Peter Rawlinson. If you want to get serious, come to a workshop. They will kick your butt. And they will move you, have the capacity to move you much more powerfully than any video, book, or you working on your own. And that's just a fact, Jack, as far as I can tell. All right. So thanks very much. Much love. Till next time. Take care.